My son was the only one who believed her version of me. Then at her vineyard wedding, a financial advisor stood up with a microphone and a folder full of names. 12 of the guests were his victims. The video went viral, 4.2 million views in 36 hours. Her perfect second wedding exploded in real time. 9 hours later, she called me in France, hysterical, blaming me for everything. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Quick question before we start. Where are you tuning in from? Leave your location in the comments. I'd love to know where this story reaches you. Fair warning. This contains fictionalized elements designed for education and emotional impact. Any similarity to actual people or places is coincidental. But the lessons, the truths about human nature, those are 100% real. Now, let's get into it. My name is Douglas Whitfield. I'm 64 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself when everyone expects you to keep sacrificing. It started in Calgary, Alberta, in a house that looked like success from every angle. $2.8 million in Mount Royal, backing onto the Elbow River, stone and glass architecture. 3 levels, professionally landscaped gardens that required a crew every Tuesday. My ex-wife Heather had made it showcase-worthy. She worked in marketing for luxury brands. She understood image the way engineers understand load-bearing calculations. She knew exactly how to make everything look flawless and make the people maintaining it feel inadequate. 32 years I spent in that marriage. 32 years watching her recalibrate what success meant every time I achieved the previous standard. The furniture replaced because our friends had upgraded. My engineering awards hidden in the basement because they made guests feel uncomfortable about their own careers. Dinner parties where she'd correct my stories mid-sentence, then laugh it off while I felt my face burn. By year 29, I'd stopped sharing my opinions at social gatherings. By year 30, I was sleeping in the basement guest room. By year 31, I'd stopped trying to figure out which version of myself would finally be enough. We had 2 children, Emma, 29, social worker in Vancouver, sharp observer, saw through her mother's patterns by age 16. Ben, 25, financial analyst in Toronto, brilliant with numbers, completely blind to emotional manipulation. He'd absorbed Heather's narrative where I was the problem. Cold, absent, emotionally limited. All her words, delivered in his voice with absolute conviction. The panic attack came on March 15th. Not minor, absolutely real. I was at a charity gala Heather had insisted we attend. She was on the event committee, networking with Calgary's elite. Mid-conversation with a oil executive's wife, my chest tightened. Vision tunneled. Heart rate spiked to 160. I couldn't breathe. The room tilted sideways. I excused myself. Made it to the lobby. Called an Uber to the hospital. Heather stayed at the gala. The silent auction needed supervision. The emergency physician was direct. She checked my heart, ran blood work, monitored me for 4 hours. Your heart is structurally fine, Mr. Whitfield, but your nervous system is screaming. This is severe anxiety. Your body is trying to tell you something. She leaned forward, made eye contact. What in your life is unsustainable right now? Everything, I wanted to say. Instead, I said, I'll manage it. She prescribed medication, recommended therapy, handed me discharge papers. Mr. Whitfield, anxiety this severe doesn't appear overnight. You've been living in crisis mode for a long time. Your body just made it impossible to ignore anymore. I took an Uber home at 2 in the morning. Heather texted around midnight. Still at after party. Don't wait up. I lay on the basement guest room bed, hand on chest, feeling my heart rate slowly return to normal. The medication made me foggy, but the clarity underneath was sharp as broken glass. I could keep medicating my way through this marriage, or I could remove myself from what was causing the crisis. The question was simple. Did I want to survive this, or did I want to actually live? The panic attack was acute. The realization was seismic. Lying in that hospital bed, I understood I'd spent 3 decades engineering my own disappearance, making myself smaller so Heather could expand. My body had just issued an emergency shutdown. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The discharge took 30 minutes. I signed papers with a hand that shook less than it had in months. Walking out into March cold, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Possibility. I drove home slowly, watching Calgary's skyline against the Rockies. I'd built infrastructure here. Bridges, water treatment facilities, highway overpasses, created things that would outlast me. But I couldn't build a marriage that didn't require me to disappear. That night, Heather came home at 3, complained about the event coordinator's incompetence, never asked why I'd left early. I didn't tell her. The next morning, I started planning the way I'd planned every major project. Methodically, quietly, leaving nothing to assumption. 8 months. That's what I gave myself. March through November. The engineering firm I'd co-founded had been acquired 2 years prior for $6.3 million. My share after taxes was $3.8 million. I created an irrevocable trust. $1.9 million, Emma as trustee, her name exclusively. Heather couldn't access it, couldn't contest it, legally airtight. $1.2 million went into separate accounts. Offshore bonds, dividend funds, currency diversified. My passive income would generate $68,000 annually. Provence living expenses would run around $4,000 monthly. The mathematics worked perfectly. The house was more complex. Worth $2.1 million, mortgage-free. I'd paid it off 5 years earlier using my acquisition money. Heather had chosen every fixture, every paint color, every piece of furniture. She'd built her perfect stage. I signed it over to her completely in a quitclaim deed. The house, the cars, the art, the designer, everything. All hers. But there was a detail she missed because she never read financial documents carefully. She'd inherited $400,000 from her father 3 years ago. I'd suggested she invest it. She chose a multi-level marketing company, selling wellness products. High-end inventory, recruiting structure, promised returns. I'd advised against it. She called me risk-averse and unambitious. I invested it for her anyway, in her name, fully documented. It lost $320,000 over 2 years before the company collapsed. That loss was legally hers. The tax implications were hers. The worthless inventory in our garage was hers. I made sure every document had her signature. France's long-stay visa required proof of income and health insurance. I qualified easily. Found a stone cottage outside Gordes through an expat rental network. €800 monthly, lavender views, walking distance to the village center. Set up French banking, international health coverage. Bought Rosetta Stone for French. Studied 2 hours daily. November, I told Emma, over lunch in Kensington. Laid out everything. The trust, the plan, the departure date. She listened, then reached across the table. Dad, you should have done this a decade ago. I know. Ben's going to be devastated. I know that too. She stirred her coffee slowly. I'll be here for him. He'll need time to understand. Maybe years. I nodded. Years I'd spend healthy, free, finally breathing without my chest tightening. I didn't tell Ben. At 25, he worked at the same investment firm where Heather's new social circle operated. He believed her version of reality completely. Maybe he needed to. Children choose their narratives for complicated reasons. Divorce papers filed quietly through my attorney in October. Heather would be served after my departure. November 20th arrived cold and clear. 4:30 in the morning. I dressed in darkness, carried 2 suitcases downstairs. 32 years compressed into 120 pounds of luggage. I left the papers on the kitchen island under her favorite coffee mug. The house is yours. The investments are documented. I'm gone. Keys beside the papers. I called an Uber at 5. No ceremony. I simply closed the door and left. The flight went through London. 14 hours total. Somewhere over the Atlantic, drinking terrible airline tea, I watched sunrise paint clouds, copper and gold. My chest didn't hurt. The tightness I'd carried for years had lifted. I wasn't managing anxiety anymore. I'd removed its source. By the time Heather found my note, I was over France. Emma would call her, explain what could be explained. Ben would be angry. I'd spent 32 years trying to be enough for Heather. I wouldn't spend another day proving myself to anyone who'd already decided I was insufficient. 7 months later, her new marriage would force another choice. Protect my son from public humiliation or stay silent. I chose truth. The Provence morning came with church bells from Gordes and the smell of fresh bread drifting up from the boulangerie below. 6 months in, I'd built a routine I barely recognized in the best possible way. No performance anxiety, no social obligations requiring scripts, no one critiquing my word, choices, or achievements. My cottage in Gourds had thick stone walls and shutters that opened to lavender fields stretching toward the Luberon Mountains. Mornings I'd hike the trails around Senanque Abbey, then have coffee at Michel's Cafe. He was 68, patient with my improving French, never asked about my past. That's what I loved about Provence. People cared more about how you treated the present than who you'd been before. I'd started painting landscapes, badly at first, then less badly. Joined a Thursday watercolor class in nearby Roussillon. My blood pressure dropped to 118/76. I slept 7 hours straight every night. Lost 22 pounds without effort. The anxiety medication tapered off after 3 months. My doctor in Avignon said, "Whatever you're doing, it's working. Your nervous system has reset completely." Emma called every Sunday. Thriving in Vancouver, promoted to senior case manager. Ben hadn't called once. Emma said he needed time. I gave him space. That Thursday in June, I was sketching the Gourdes Castle from Michel's terrace when my phone buzzed. LinkedIn message from Robert Chen, university friend I hadn't spoken to in 15 years. His profile showed him sailing, gray-haired, content-looking. The message was brief. "Hey Douglas, random question, but thought you should know. Heather's getting married next month. Guy named Mitchell Drummond, runs an investment advisory firm here in Calgary. Big vineyard wedding in Okanagan Valley. Your son's standing up as a groomsman. Figured you'd want the heads up. Take care." I read it twice. Set down my coffee. Felt curiosity more than emotion. The way you're curious about a film you walked out of halfway through. Typed back, "Thanks for letting me know. I'm good, really good." Then I opened my laptop. Mitchell Drummond's online presence was extensive. Certified Financial Planner designation. Drummond Wealth Management, established 2018. Specializing in retirement planning for high net worth seniors. Website polished. Testimonials glowing. Photos of him at charity golf tournaments. LinkedIn showed 200 connections. Endorsements for financial planning and investment strategy. Instagram had photos of luxury watches, business class flights, Heather on his arm at Calgary Stampede events. I scrolled, my engineering brain doing what it does, looking for load points, checking foundations. A firm established 6 years ago managing high net worth retirement accounts should have substantial regulatory filings. I pulled up the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada database. Public record. Drummond Wealth Management showed client complaints. 4 filed in the past 18 months. Allegations of unauthorized trading, unsuitable investments for elderly clients, failure to disclose fees. Not enough to shut him down, but enough to pattern recognition. Then I checked business registrations. His firm showed him as sole proprietor, no partners, no oversight board. I sat back, watching tourists wander Gourdes's stone streets below. From my table, Provence stretched out in afternoon light, peaceful and golden. Somewhere in Calgary, Mitchell was posting photos of engagement champagne and designer suits. And somewhere in Toronto, my son thought this man was worth celebrating. 2 days after Robert's message, I was still researching. Not because I wanted Heather to suffer. I'd moved past that. But Ben's name kept appearing in Mitchell's social media. Tagged photos. Captions calling him my future stepson and best man. My son was about to publicly endorse someone whose regulatory record showed a pattern. I'd spent 32 years reading structural calculations. You learn to see what's missing, not just what's presented. Mitchell Drummond's public filings showed one picture. The gaps between them showed another. IIROC complaints weren't conclusive, but they were smoke. I dug deeper. Court records showed 2 civil suits, settled out of court. Elderly clients alleging their retirement accounts had been depleted through high-risk investments they hadn't authorized. Settlements included non-disclosure agreements, but the case numbers were public. I traced his business structure. Drummond Wealth Management operated as a sole proprietorship, but bank records I accessed through professional databases showed concerning patterns. Large transfers between client accounts. Money moving in circles. Classic signs of covering shortfalls. He was using new client deposits to pay returns to old clients. The structure was textbook Ponzi. The regulatory investigation was already underway. I found it buried in IIROC enforcement proceedings. Preliminary investigation opened April 20th, 2024. Focus on potential securities fraud, misappropriation of client funds, and operating an unregistered investment scheme. The investigation was confidential, but court filings in related civil cases referenced it. I closed my laptop and walked to the village square, sat on the stone wall overlooking the valley. The sun was setting, painting lavender fields, purple and gold. Somewhere in Canada, Mitchell was planning a wedding, posting Instagram stories about love and future. And somewhere in Toronto, my son believed this man represented success. My phone rang. Emma, calling from her Vancouver office. Dad, I've been digging into this Mitchell person too. I know social workers. We have access to elder abuse databases. He's been reported twice for financial exploitation of seniors. Nothing criminal yet, but the pattern is clear. How many victims? From what I can find, at least 23, mostly aged 65 to 85. Total losses probably around 3.6 million. Some of these people mortgaged their homes to invest with him. I felt my chest tighten. Not anxiety this time. Anger. Clean and focused. Emma, is Ben involved in the wedding? He's the best man. Dad, he's been posting about it. Called Mitchell a mentor, a role model for ethical wealth building. The firm Ben works for is conservative. If this comes out with Ben in wedding photos standing next to Mitchell, they'll question everything. Exactly. I tried talking to him last week. He shut me down completely. Said I was jealous of Mom's happiness. Said I was acting like you, cold and judgmental. That hurt more than I expected. Emma, I can't control Heather's choices. But Ben's about to make a public mistake. The IIROC investigation goes public in August, 1 month after the wedding. When that happens, everyone in those photos will face questions. After we hung up, I stood on my cottage terrace watching stars appear over the Luberon. I couldn't stop the wedding, couldn't force Ben to see what he wasn't ready to see, but I could ensure truth had a voice when it mattered. I scrolled through my contacts, found a name I hadn't used in years, Dr. Patricia Chen, financial forensics expert, former RCMP commercial crimes investigator, now private consultant based in Vancouver. 8 years ago, I'd helped her pro bono on a municipal infrastructure fraud case. She'd said if I ever needed anything, call. I called. Douglas Whitfield. Patricia. It's been years. How are you? I'm well. Living in France now, actually. Retired from the chaos. She laughed. Smart man. What can I do for you? I need someone with credibility to ask questions at a wedding. Someone who can present facts without hostility. Make people think, not react. Long pause. Tell me more. We switched to video. Patricia's office had Vancouver Harbor visible through the window, certificates lining the walls. She looked like someone who'd spent decades earning trust. I explained everything. The IIROC investigation, the victim count, the pattern, Ben's involvement. She listened without interrupting. I know the Okanagan Vineyard wedding circuit. I consult there sometimes on fraud prevention for wealthy families. What are you thinking? Someone credible who could raise concerns publicly. Frame it as protective, not accusatory. Make the guests aware so they can verify their own investments before it's too late. Patricia leaned back. There's a financial planner I know. Does educational talks at events like this. Lawrence Abbott, 70, former securities regulator. He has this grandfatherly way of delivering hard truths. People listen to him. Juries loved him when he testified. Can you get him in? I have connections at that vineyard. I'll reach out to the wedding planner, suggest Lawrence as a speaker on financial wellness for the couple's future. Vineyard weddings love that kind of content. Educational, sophisticated, they'll approve it. I sent her everything, the IIIOC documents, victim statements, investigation timeline. Lawrence would weave them into concern, not accusation. Make people check their own accounts. Protect themselves. 3 days later, my phone rang while I was making dinner. Provence evening, warm, cottage windows open to cricket sounds. Ben's name on the screen stopped me completely. First call since November. Dad. Formal. Distant. Like I was someone he barely knew. Ben. I'm calling because I think you should know. I'm standing as best man at Mom's wedding next month. Mitchell asked me personally. It's an honor. I turned off the stove. Emma mentioned that. Congratulations. He's a good man, Dad. Successful, treats Mom with respect. He's everything. He paused. Everything you weren't, hung in the silence between us. I'm glad your mother's happy. Are you? Because it seems like you just abandoned everything. abandoned us. I gripped the terrace railing. Ben, I left a marriage that was destroying my health. Not you, not Emma. You left a note, Dad. Like resigning from a job. That landed hard. I know you're excited about this wedding. Just promise me something. What? You're good at your job because you verify data. Check sources. Don't stop doing that because it's family. Silence, then defensive. What's that supposed to mean? Successful people aren't always what they present. Look at regulatory filings. Ask to see audited statements. Verify foundations before you publicly endorse someone. I don't need career advice from someone who walked away from everything. Mitchell's built something real. I hope you're right. I have to go. Rehearsal dinner's tomorrow. The line went dead. I stood watching lights come on across Gordas. My dinner was cold. The evening was still beautiful. But my chest felt tight in a way that had nothing to do with anxiety. This was different. This was a father watching his son walk toward a cliff, unable to stop him. Emma texted. He called you? Yeah. I'm sorry, Dad. He'll understand eventually. After everything collapses, and he's left explaining why he endorsed it. July 22nd, 2024, 3 days before the wedding. While Heather and Mitchell rehearsed vows in Okanagan Valley, I was having morning coffee in gourds. Emma sent updates throughout their evening, her afternoon, my night. 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 2:30 a.m. in France. At rehearsal dinner, Heather's nervous, adjusting every detail. Mitchell working the room hard, very confident. Maybe too confident. 7:15 p.m., 3:15 a.m. Ben's toast, all about new beginnings and what real success looks like. Called Mitchell a mentor. Didn't mention you at all. 7:48 p.m., 3:48 a.m. Dad, Lawrence Abbott just arrived. He's perfect. 70. Distinguished. Looks like everyone's favorite grandfather. Suit probably costs more than my car. 8:05 p.m., 4:05 a.m. Lawrence introduced himself to Mitchell as old family friend, knew Heather's cousin years ago. Complete fiction, but he's so genuine. Mitchell welcomed him warmly. No suspicion. 8:22 p.m., 4:22 a.m. Wedding planner asked about Lawrence. Patricia vouched perfectly. Said he does financial wellness talks. Suggested a toast about building strong financial foundations for marriage. Planner loved it. Approved for reception speeches. 8:50 p.m., 4:50 a.m. Heather talked to Lawrence for 15 minutes. She has no idea who he is, but she's performing gracious host perfectly. Lawrence is charming her completely. 9:30 p.m., 5:30 a.m. Rehearsal ending. Lawrence mingled flawlessly. Mitchell relaxed now, drinking wine, arm around Heather. He has no idea what's coming. Dad, Ben's going to be devastated tomorrow. You sure about this? My phone rang. 5:35 a.m. Gord's time. I took it on the terrace, village still sleeping below. Riley, whispering from the vineyard parking lot. Lawrence is flawless. He told stories about Okanagan wine history that sounded so authentic everyone believed him. Asked Mitchell casual questions about his firm, his client base, his growth strategy. Mitchell bragged openly. No defenses up. Tomorrow's details. Outdoor ceremony at 4 p.m. Reception at 5:30. Speeches around 6:30. Lawrence goes after family toasts. Before dancing. He'll have documents ready. Patricia confirmed 12 of Mitchell's victims are actually invited guests. Friends of Heather's parents. Lawrence will name them directly. Ask them to verify their account statements. What happens when you publicly tell people they've been defrauded at a wedding? We find out tomorrow. Take care of Ben after. I will. Always. After we hung up, I tried sleeping. Couldn't. At 6 a.m., I walked Gords' empty streets. Safe at that hour. Locals nodded as I passed. Recognized me now. Guilt surfaced in the pre-dawn quiet. Was this about protecting Ben or punishing Heather? Honest answer, both maybe. But also 23 families losing 3.6 million. Seniors whose retirement security had been stolen through trust. This wasn't revenge. This was prevention. I returned home as sunrise painted the Luberon rose and gold. Texted Emma. Whatever happens today, you and Ben will always have each other. And me, when he's ready. The wedding day arrived. Emma sent photos throughout. Heather in champagne silk, Mitchell in charcoal gray, Ben proud beside them. 180 guests witnessing perfection. The ceremony went flawlessly. Vows, rings, kiss, applause. Then came the reception. The speeches. Ben spoke first, praising Mitchell's vision and integrity. 6:28 p.m. Pacific, 2:28 a.m. Gord's time. I was awake but not watching. Emma would tell me later. Right now, at a vineyard in Okanagan Valley, Lawrence Abbott was standing with a microphone and a folder of documents. But first, Ben's toast. Emma sent me the video afterward. My son stood confident, emotional. Mitchell Drummond represents everything I aspire to become. In 6 years, he's built a firm managing over $70 million in assets, trusted by Calgary's most successful families, and now married to my mother, who deserves nothing but the best. He's shown me that success comes from integrity, vision, and genuine care for clients. To Mitchell and Mom, may your partnership be as solid as the foundations you've both built. Applause. Glasses raised. Heather crying happy tears. Mitchell nodding, satisfied. When I watched it later, my chest hurt for my son's innocence. And that's when a 70-year-old man most people didn't recognize stood and approached the microphone. Comment below. Have you ever watched truth shatter someone's carefully constructed image? Because that's exactly what happened next. My son stood there praising fraud. 180 guests were about to learn why. Quick note, what follows includes dramatized elements for educational impact. If that's not for you, stop here. But if you want to understand how financial predators operate, keep listening. The wedding planner, Jennifer Miles, stepped to the microphone. We have one more speaker before we open the dance floor. Mr. Lawrence Abbott, a financial education consultant and friend of the family. Confusion rippled through guests. Who? But Jennifer smiled warmly. Patricia Chen nodding from a vendor table. Lawrence rose from a seat near the back, walked forward with unhurried authority. Perfectly tailored navy suit, kind eyes, the presence of someone who'd spent decades earning credibility in courtrooms and boardrooms. He held the microphone, let silence settle. Professional technique. The room's attention locked on him. He carried weight you couldn't fake. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lawrence Abbott, and I've spent 43 years working in securities regulation and financial forensics. I've seen families build wealth, and I've seen families lose everything to people they trusted. I wanted to take a moment to celebrate this union, but also to talk about something I believe is critically important: financial foundations. He paused, smiled warmly. Guests leaned in. Heather, you look absolutely beautiful tonight. Mitchell, you've clearly built something impressive. 70 million in assets under management in just 6 years. That's exceptional growth. His tone shifted, still warm but probing. As someone who spent 2 decades at the investment industry regulatory organization, I have to admit, growth that rapid makes me professionally curious. So I looked at the public records because caution is in my nature. Your firm has 4 formal complaints filed with IROC in the past 18 months. Allegations of unauthorized trading, unsuitable investments for elderly clients, failure to disclose fee structures. These aren't secrets. They're public filings. Anyone can access them. Guests began shifting, phones emerging. But in my experience, most people don't look. We see the success, the confidence, the beautiful photos. We forget to verify foundations. We forget that rapid growth in financial services usually means one of 2 things: either exceptional capital reserves and transparent operations, or creative arrangements with other people's money. He opened his folder. I've also reviewed 2 civil lawsuits, settled out of court. Elderly clients alleging their retirement accounts were depleted through high-risk investments they never authorized. There's also an active IROC investigation open this past April. Preliminary findings suggest potential securities fraud and operation of an unregistered investment scheme. A long pause. He looked directly at Heather, then at specific guests. Mrs. Patterson, Mr. and Mrs. Kowalski, the Hendersons, the Chens, the Abbotts, Mrs. DeMarco, Mr. Singh, the Thompsons. You're all here tonight celebrating with us. You're also all clients of Drummond Wealth Management. I'd encourage you to check your account statements tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Compare them to your original investment amounts. Verify that the returns you've been shown match actual cash you can withdraw. Because in my 4 decades of experience, when someone is operating a Ponzi scheme, the returns on paper rarely match the money in the accounts. Silence. Complete. Suffocating. Then chaos erupted. The named guests pulled out phones immediately. fingers flying. Google searches lighting up faces in the vineyard twilight. Others searched Mitchell Drummond, Rock, Drummond wealth complaints. Mitchell's face went crimson. He stood, moving toward Lawrence. Jennifer rushed forward. Security appeared. Heather stood frozen. Then her face crumpled. She ran toward the vineyard building, heels catching on grass, cameras everywhere, phones recording from every angle. Groomsmen exchanged confused looks. Ben stood there, his world fracturing in real time. My phone rang at 2:43 a.m. Gord's time. I stared at Heather's name for 4 rings. Answered. Her voice was fury and panic woven together. You did this. You planted him. You destroyed my wedding because you can't stand to see me happy. I let her finish. The accusations, the rage, the betrayal script I'd heard for 3 decades. When she finally ran out of words, I spoke quietly. Heather, I'm sitting on a terrace in Provence. It's almost 3 in the morning. I don't know who that man is, but maybe someone finally asked the questions you should have asked before marrying him. Maybe someone cared enough about those elderly people to warn them before they lost everything. Silence. Then a sound, half sob, half scream. The line went dead. I set the phone down, looked out at Gordes' ancient stones glowing under moonlight. 4,000 miles away, her perfect wedding was unraveling, and I felt nothing but relief that I wasn't part of that chaos anymore. I didn't watch the video until the next morning. By then it had 600,000 views. 24 hours later, 2.8 million. 48 hours, 4.2 million. The internet never forgets, and it never forgives. I woke at 7 a.m. Gord's time, July 26th. Messages from Emma were waiting. It's everywhere, Dad. Every platform. Current views 712,000 and climbing. I opened the link. Video posted by a wedding guest. Caption. This wedding toast just ended a marriage before the honeymoon. Lawrence's entire speech. Audio crystal clear thanks to the venue's sound system. 4 minutes and 32 seconds. View count updating in real time. The comments exploded. The way he said creative arrangements with other people's money. Chills. Imagine Googling your financial advisor during your mom's wedding reception. This man chose protecting seniors over social comfort. Respect. Heather's face at 3 minutes 12 when she realizes everyone's searching his name. May your partnership be as solid as the foundations you've built is the most polite devastation I've ever heard. By noon Gordes time, 1.4 million views. By evening, 3 million. Compilation videos appeared. Most devastating wedding speeches. Memes using Heather's frozen face, Mitchell's crimson fury, Ben's bewildered expression. Online forums dissecting the IROC filings Lawrence mentioned. News coverage started. Calgary outlets, business blogs, CBC investigative unit. Emma kept me updated on the immediate fallout. Within 24 hours, RCMP Commercial Crimes Unit opened a criminal investigation. Securities fraud, theft over 5,000, fraud affecting the public market. All of Mitchell's accounts frozen pending investigation. The victim group, now connected through the wedding video, retained class action counsel. 27 confirmed victims, total documented losses 4.1 million. Clients demanded immediate account access, discovered paper returns didn't match actual holdings. 3 of Mitchell's staff quit immediately, provided evidence to investigators. Within 48 hours, Mitchell's business license suspended by IIRC. His brokerage shut down, office sealed. Victims discovered he'd been using new client money to pay false returns to existing clients for at least 3 years. His assets, court order froze everything pending restitution. His lawyer issued a statement vigorously denying all allegations. Mitchell himself, no public appearances, not answering calls. Emma tracked Heather's situation too. Her marketing firm, emergency meeting. 3 clients paused contracts after the video. Social media now private, but screenshots circulating everywhere. Friends maintaining distance, social isolation in Calgary's tight circles. Heather's response, called Emma hysterical, blamed me exclusively. Emma's response, Dad's in France. Mom, he didn't do anything, but you should have verified who you were marrying before the wedding. July 28th, Ben called me. His voice completely broken. Dad. Ben. Mitchell's firm. It's under criminal investigation. RCMP charges. The wedding video. It's at 4 million views. I'm in it, Dad. Praising him. calling him ethical. My firm called me in, asked about my relationship with Mitchell, whether I knew about the fraud. They've seen the video. Everyone's seen it. What did you tell them? The truth. That I didn't know. That I should have verified but didn't. That I trusted the wrong person. Long silence. You tried to warn me the night before. You said verify foundations. I called you judgmental. I said you were just like always, cold and critical. I'm sorry, Dad, for everything, for not listening, for believing Mom's version, for the things I said. Your voice broke. I know, son, I know. We talked for 90 minutes. Ben asked about France, my health, my life. I was honest. I'm healthy, happy, peaceful. I paint badly. I drink good wine. I sleep through the night. I haven't had a panic attack since I left Calgary. That's good, Dad. You deserved that. I'm sorry it took me this long to see what she did to you. Plans formed. Ben would visit Gordes once things settled at work. Me, the door's always been open. After we hung up, I stood on my terrace watching evening light paint lavender fields gold. Swallows darted overhead. Somewhere in Calgary, my son was processing hard truths. Somewhere else in Calgary, Heather's perfect image was dissolving under scrutiny. Mitchell's empire was collapsing under investigation. And me, I was 4,000 miles away, healthy, free, finally at peace. Justice wasn't about revenge. Justice was truth finally spoken out loud where it couldn't be ignored anymore. 14 months later, September 2025, I'm sitting on the same terrace where this story began. The Luberon hasn't changed. Gordes hasn't changed. But everything else has. Mitchell Drummond was criminally charged in November 2024. 18 counts, including fraud over $5,000, theft, and operating an unregistered investment scheme. His trial lasted 6 weeks in May 2025. Guilty on 16 counts. Sentenced in August to 14 years, federal prison. No parole eligibility for 7 years. His assets liquidated. Victims recovered 41 cents on the dollar. He's currently at Bowden Institution, Alberta, inmate number 84,719. Heather was sued by the victim group in October 2024 for $600,000. Money Mitchell had gifted her, including a luxury SUV and jewelry purchased from client accounts. She settled for $420,000. Couldn't afford to fight it. She sold her Mount Royal house in January for $2.3 million. After paying the settlement, legal fees, and tax on the MLM losses I'd invested for her, she netted $308,000. She moved to Kelowna, working as marketing coordinator for a local winery at $62,000 annually. Her Calgary social circle dissolved completely. She called Emma once asking for money. Emma said no. Ben went through professional review at his firm, cleared of wrongdoing but reputation damaged. Transferred to internal audit. Same salary, less client-facing work. He started therapy in September, working through family of origin patterns, learned terms like triangulation and golden child dynamics. He visited me in Gordes in December. We spent 10 days together. Walked lavender fields, toured Roman ruins, talked about Heather's manipulation without bitterness. Just fact. He told me, I spent my whole childhood managing her emotions, making excuses for her behavior. I never asked if you needed protection from her. In March, he met someone, Isabel, a teacher from Montreal, completely different from anyone he'd dated. Genuine, grounded, emotionally healthy. He called me in June. Dad, I'm going to propose. Will you come to Toronto for the engagement? I said yes. Emma's thriving. 3 promotions in 18 months. Recognized nationally for her work in elder abuse prevention. She calls weekly, visits Gordes every Christmas. We're solid. As for me, my health transformed completely. Blood pressure 114/72. Weight stable at 73 kilograms. No anxiety medication in over a year. I sleep 8 hours nightly. My Gordes doctor said, Monsieur Whitfield, whatever you're doing, continue. Your biomarkers are exceptional for 64. My days found their rhythm. I swim mornings at the community pool. Breakfast at Michel's Café. We discuss French politics now in French. Afternoons I paint. Sold 6 pieces last spring at a Roussillon gallery. Evenings I attend conversation groups. Discuss philosophy, history, wine. I built a circle here. expat friends, local artists, neighbors who've adopted me. My investment portfolio grew to 1.3 million, generating 73,000 annually. Expenses run 52,000. I'm comfortable. Content. Deeply, surprisingly happy. I feel no bitterness toward Heather. True indifference. No guilt about leaving. Pride in my children, both of them. No desire for romantic relationship by choice. I'm not lonely. I'm complete. I learned that being alone isn't the same as being incomplete. Heather lost the image she'd traded me for. Mitchell lost freedom through his own greed. Ben learned brutal lessons and grew stronger. Emma stayed true to herself and thrived. People ask if I'm happy. The question seems insufficient. I'm at peace because I chose myself when 32 years of conditioning said I shouldn't. Looking back, I realize I spent 3 decades making myself smaller, believing sacrifice equaled love. I was wrong. We're each given one life, one body, one spirit. When we allow others to destroy those gifts systematically, we're not being noble or loyal. We're abandoning ourselves. Don't be like me. Don't wait for a panic attack to hear what your nervous system already knows. Don't waste decades hoping toxic patterns will magically improve. They won't. Not without the other person choosing change, which requires them first admitting there's a problem. The lesson I learned too late. Verification isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. Whether it's a marriage, a business partner, or a financial advisor, verify the foundation before building your life on it. Public records don't lie. Patterns don't lie. Your body's emergency signals don't lie. Listen to them. Truth speaks through evidence, not through the facades we desperately want to believe. These stories aren't just entertainment. They're warnings wrapped in narrative, lessons paid for with decades of my life, so maybe you can recognize the patterns sooner. That's why I share them. Wisdom our generation earned the hard way, so yours doesn't have to. If this resonated with you, leave a comment. Where are you watching from? Have you ever had to choose yourself when everyone expected you to keep sacrificing? Share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories that challenge and transform. Real lessons from real life. Thank you for staying until the end. I see you. One more thing. Moving forward, these stories may contain fictionalized elements for educational impact. If that's not your preference, there's other content available. But if you're ready for more truth, more lessons learned through hard experience, I'll see you in the next one.